So they finally found a real scandal here. After all this searching, with Hillary Clinton's emails, is there anything there? No. Well, maybe, I don't know. It's no. Did she send? No, she didn't. Well, did she get any? Well, there was a C on there, but it's like it keeps being kind of there's no there. But here we have a couple of smoking guns. Seriously, I mean, it's a criminal investigation, or the possibility of one, shut down in 2 different states by 2 different officials who got money from Donald Trump. Oh, I forgot to mention, this is not a Hillary Clinton scandal. So, it's not going to get much coverage in the media. I mean, they may mention it here and there on MSNBC. It certainly won't show up on Fox. And I'd be surprised if it shows up on CNN. Donald Trump famously said during the primary debates, and I quote, "You know what? When I need something," he's talking about, bribing politicians, or making campaign contributions. "You know what? When I need something from them 2 years later, 3 years later, I call them and they're there for me." Right. So Douglas Berry at the Oregonian points out, he's quoting a lawyer who filed an ethics complaint against Pam Bondi. He said, "If it looks like a bribe and quacks like a bribe, I think it's a bribe." Pam Bondi is the Attorney General of Florida, and Ken Paxton is the Attorney General of Texas. And in both cases, it looks like they stopped, or the case of Texas actually shut down a potentially criminal investigation into Donald Trump and his so-called university ripping people off for millions of dollars. In the case of Texas, it was $2.6 million the students spent on seminars, and $2.8 million in penalties and fees that the state was going to seek to recover from Donald Trump. John Owens was the Deputy Chief of Consumer Protection. He was putting together the case against Trump in Texas. And he put together a 14-page internal summary of the state's case against Trump. You can read this at the Associated Press, ap.org. And Owens, who is now retired, said, I'm quoting from the AP now, said his team had built a solid case against the now presumptive Republican presidential nominee, but was told to drop it after Trump's company agreed to cease operations in Texas. Right. The former state regulator told the AP on Friday that the decision was highly unusual and left the bilked students on their own to attempt to recover their tuition money from the celebrity businessman, and arguably, perhaps, maybe a billionaire. And when they asked Owens, this was the investigator, right? This is the guy who worked for the state attorney general, Mr. Paxton, who, by the way, is under his own has his own problems because he's facing 3 felony charges last year. He was indicted, saying that there was this North Texas tech startup, and he was out there encouraging people to put their money into it. And he didn't mention to anybody that he had never put his money into it, that instead he got paid in stock, for hustling people into it. So he's out of jail, and he's the Attorney General of Texas. In fact, he's continuing as the Attorney General of Texas, because being a Republican and being corrupt are kind of, there's a conflict there, really? Whereas Florida Attorney General Pam Bondi, this again from the Associated Press, considered a multi-state suit against Trump University 3 days after Bondi's spokesman was quoted in local media reports as saying that her office was investigating, that would be Trump University that they were investigating. Trump's family foundation made a $25,000 contribution to a political fundraising campaign supporting Bondi's re-election campaign. Bondi, a Republican, soon dropped her investigation. One of the things that I pointed out on this program over and over and over again that I find fascinating is the extent of political bribery in the United States. You know, how corrupt the American political system has become as largely as a result of the Buckley versus Vallejo decision by the Supreme Court in 1976, which said that giving money to politicians is not bribery. It is politically protected First Amendment free speech. And then, of course, that was amplified by Citizens United and McCutcheon. And, you know, the consequence is that you've got the Attorney General of Texas. Oh, this is bizarre. But can you imagine if the Clinton campaign, you know, there's all this Sturm and Drang, right? The Republicans have all these investigations, and they're going to have more, right? Congress is back in session today, and so, you know, any minute now, the Republicans are going to start a couple of investigations into Hillary Clinton, guaranteed. I mean, you know, this is predictable, right? It's just predictable. But, you know, not so much Donald Trump. Not so much. Yeah. You expect this from Republicans, right? But, you know, if a Democrat does it,